What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPapa, and I promised myself I wasn't going to say how excited I am because I do that at the beginning of every video, but guess what? I am so incredibly pumped to be sitting here talking to you about Obsidian Flames. Now, this video is actually a follow-up video to one that we did in April. Now, in April, we knew 151 was coming, we knew Obsidian Flames was coming, so we thought it would be a really cool time to sit back and do a deep dive into the beginning of eras. So we looked at the beginning of Sun and Moon, we looked at the beginning of Sword and Shield, and we tried to see if we could find any patterns or commonalities that we could maybe layer into Scarlet and Violet to give us some idea of what might happen, right? There's no magic wand, there's no crystal ball, nothing's going to tell us exactly how a set can perform. But if we can find commonalities, if we can find trends, especially here in the Pokemon market, they do tend to correlate. The past doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. And that's what we're doing today with Obsidian Flames. And we're going to be doing the same thing on Sunday with 151. And I've got all kinds of really cool data for that as well. So listen, if those kind of things excite you, we're building an amazing community here. I would love it if you hit that subscribe button. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below. And if you like what you see, there's no better way to say thank you to me for the work that we put in here at PikaPikaPapa than hit that thumbs up button. So with that being said, let's get into the data right now. Now, the very first thing that I want to say is, listen, we talked about Obsidian Flames and we talked about the beginning of eras, right? We know that the third set in Sun and Moon was Burning Shadows. That had a big chase Zard. And then the third set in Sword and Shield was Darkness Ablaze, which at the time had a very big chase Zard. Now, I was waiting to do this video because I wanted to get the big Obsidian Flames reveal. Like, what is this big Terra Charizard going to look like? And unless you've been sleeping on a rock, you've already seen it, but here it is just so we can talk about it. And I know there's a lot of strong opinions out there, and I love that. I think that's great when a card has a lot of people who love it and a lot of people who hate it, just like the switch to silver borders, right? Like, there was no shortage of strong opinions there. I'll tell you this, I know there's a lot of silver, a lot of white, there's some black, it looks a little washed out at times, but I absolutely love this card. I think the red pops, I think the blue pops, I love the tilt of the head. I think this card is going to look stunning in a PSA 10 holder, and I think it is more Burning Shadows than Darkness Ablaze. So for me, this checks the first box. Like, is the big chase Charizard going to be worth it? Is it going to get some love? And I absolutely think so. So speaking of Charizards that get love, let's look at one that didn't get a ton of love, and that is going to be this Charizard VMAX from the Darkness Ablaze. Now, it's important to understand everything that went on with this set. This set came out in August of 2020. Lots going on in the world in August of 2020, right? Lots going on in the Pokemon space. Lots of people piling into the hobby, right? Lots of people ripping wax. There was 15,000 of these Charizard VMAXs in PSA 10s right now. 15,000. That is a very, very saturated PSA 10 market. And that results in what we see here at the bottom. The last two sales averaged about $90. You know, really, if you can hunt and peck, you can get this in a PSA 10, you know, for the low 80s, which is really crazy for, you know, a Sword and Shield era set. We all like Sword and Shield and Charizard, which is the big chase card of that. But I just think that it was overproduced, it was overpopulated, and I think that it got graded into the absolute ground. Now, the other thing we're going to say here is, thanks to Polkadata.io, I actually have actual price chart from when it came out all the way to today, which is really cool. We don't normally have that. A lot of times we just look at a one-year graph. But you can see this came out in the $90, $100 range, and it had a little brief pop up to $110, and then it has been on a steady decline down and to the right ever since. I saw somebody talking the other day about Charizard prices crashing, and they had this card on the list, and I was like, what do you mean the card's been crashing since it came out? Like, that's not a new trend. That's not a shift in the hobby. Like, it's following the trend it's always always done, right? This card just never found the steam. It never found the excitement, and I don't think it's a very pretty card. Like, when I compare this to that Terra Charizard we just looked at, I think the Terra Charizard wins all day long. Now, when we look at Darkness Ablaze from a booster box perspective, right, we always say, hey, listen, the MSRP was $144. Most people don't pay that, so we give it a 20% haircut. Let's say you were able to buy this at $115. Now, maybe in August of 2020 you couldn't, but we're just going to use that baseline price anyways. Now the price is at $151. So unlike the single chase card, which is down 43%, that's a negative 43% rate of return over time. Now remember, rate of return is annualized, so that's an annual decrease of 43%. The rate of return for this booster box is positive 9.3%. Now, anybody anywhere would be thrilled with a 10% rate of return over 3 years, but here in the Poke space, we are pretty darn spoiled, and a 10% rate of return isn't very exciting. So interesting to see that the sealed box did a lot better than the regular card, but I do think that the regular card, the big chase card, this poor Zard, just got graded into the ground, and it was never able to really recover from that. So speaking of a Zard that didn't get a lot of love, This Zard has all the love in the world, right? Now, this is the big chase card from Burning Shadows, right? This is that secret Charizard GX. You're going to see it is starkly different in every conceivable way. Look at it, 805 PSA 10s, that's it, versus 15,000 that we saw on the last one. This is very important because when we look at booster box prices, right, we're going to understand that a lot of people buy booster boxes because of the possibility of having this very rare Charizard in it. And the last two sales in PSA 10 for this card were over $2,500, and that was in the last couple months, believe it or not. One sold for $2,600. The other one's a $3,000 buy it now, best offer accepted, but I guarantee it was over $2,500. So anyways, we go from a card where you can get a PSA 10 for 80 bucks to one where a PSA 10 is going to cost you $2,500. Now, the really cool thing about Pokedata.io, this is literally the PSA 9 price point since launch, which is incredibly cool for us to look at because guess what? Look at the PSA 9 price. Now it's pretty much flat. Then the pandemic hits, and of course it spikes all the way up like we saw in a lot of sets. So that is something you have to take in consideration when we're talking about, can we use Darkness Ablaze, can we use Burning Shadows as a price comparison for the Obsidian Flames booster box, which is about to come out. No matter how much we love that Charizard, no matter how valuable this Charizard is, you have to take that pandemic pump into consideration. Not a lot of people talk about that, but you have to remember, look, ever since the pandemic pump, it's actually been coming down a little bit. Now, the good thing about this is you haven't seen it crash back down. So that tells me the card is strong, the market is strong, people love this card, so it didn't crash back down to, I don't know, $300 in PSA 9. If anything, the PSA 10 is appreciating in value. So this card over the last, 6 years, right, has given you a rate of return of 26.4%, which is absolutely Looney Tunes when you think about this price started off in 2017. Now, getting into the booster box price, we talked about this. The booster box price, again, we assume that you didn't pay MSRP for it. It was at $115 at launch. It's now up to $410, which, interestingly to me, is a 23.9% rate of return. I was thinking about doing this. I was thinking about getting historical data and looking at rate of return of chase cards versus rate of return of booster boxes and trying to do some data analysis and saying, hey, what's the better buy? Is it better just to buy the booster box from a rate of return perspective, or is it better to buy the chase card? If that's a video you guys would like me to put some work into, drop it in the comments down below and I will be happy to get started on that for you. But again, very interesting to see this. Again, you got to remember the Sun and Moon era was fundamentally different than Sword and Shield era. There was a lot more production in Sword and Shield. There was much more demand. There was a lot more people in the hobby, but that's the other side of the coin, right? Like, yes, there might have been more production in the Sword and Shield era, but there was also a lot more people who were in the hobby collecting it because there was this pandemic pump. And I know some people have left the hobby, but I don't think that many. We do our monthly grading report videos and we see the TCG card grading is at an all-time high. So if these people are leaving in droves, I don't know what they're doing because the PSA grading data sure suggests that the hobby is strong and tons of people are out there and active. Now, getting into this, I wanted to include the Elite Trainer box price as well. Interestingly, over the last year, the Burning Shadows Elite Trainer box has dropped like a rock. Well, not really, from 116 down to 102. But either way, if you were able to buy this at that discount that we bake in, if when this came out, you're able to get it for $32, it's a 21.6% rate of return, saying it's now at $102. Again, nothing to shake a fist at, but that chase card would have outperformed it in PSA 9, and the booster box would have outperformed it. So the Elite Trainer box in all of this takes the loss. Now, when we're looking at Obsidian Flames, I feel like you get tired of me saying this, but I just have to hammer this point home. When I am thinking about what I'm going to buy in Obsidian Flames, this is it. As soon as this comes out on launch day, I'm going to buy more. I already have my wife ordered a case. I ordered a case. I'm going to have my grandma ordered a case. I'm going to order a second case as soon as I can. Like, I think that this Obsidian Flames Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box is set up for so much success. First off, every single Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box from Crown Zenith on is sold out in the Pokemon Center. Every single one. Every single one. That is absolutely Looney Tunes, right? And then when you think about this one, it's got the Charmander stamped promo. It's got the exclusivity that we talk about because look, they're all sold out, right? It has a huge Zard chase card in the set. I think that not only is this going to be a great buy and hold product overall, I do think this could end up, 151 aside, I think this could end up being one of the top products in all of Scarlet and Violet era. Now, it's going to be hard because we have no idea what's coming out in the future of Scarlet and Violet, and we all know that eras typically get better as time goes on. We know the back half is really, really strong. Those sets perform really well. But I'm telling you right now, I am so incredibly optimistic on this. When I have to pick one thing to put my money into, I am putting my money into this. And I'm going to say something that I have yet to say in the Scarlet and Violet era. I am also thinking that I will pick up a case of booster boxes. I have 2 booster boxes of Scarlet and Violet. I have 2 booster boxes of Paldea Evolved because I want them in my collection. I want to make sure that at the end of the day, I have every single booster box just to be represented. But this is one where I think I might take a heavier position on the opportunity that it ends up to be more Burning Shadows and less Darkness Ablaze. If this Charizard ends up being really hot, if they solve all the print qualities, like if this is a card that you can actually get graded at a decent clip, hopefully not 15,000 in PSA 10, but hopefully more than 800. If you can end up in the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 range or 4,000 count range of PSA 10s, I think this is going to be absolutely fire, and I think this set is going to be great. I think this product is going to be great, and I'm telling you right now, the Elite Trainer box from the Pokemon Center and a case of booster boxes is in PikaPikaPapa's future. Now listen, if you like this kind of data and you made it all the way to the end and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. We do all kinds of fun stuff like this. I got a banger coming out on Sunday on 151. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below, and listen, if you like what you saw, I'd appreciate it if you give us a thumbs up. I hope you all have an epic weekend, and we will talk soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.